So we are live. So I'm just going to wait for everything to get started and we'll give it a couple of minutes. So just seeing it load up on LinkedIn for those of you joining me from LinkedIn this evening. And we'll give it a couple of minutes. Perfect. Right. So for those of you joining us right now, let me know if you can hear me okay. Got quite a few of you joining in now, so let me know in the chat wherever you're watching from, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's on my website. Let me know and we will kick off. Perfect. I'm getting a thumbs up, so I'm going to take it that you guys can hear me okay. So I'm not going to take any more of your time than I need to, so thank you everyone for joining me. I'm going to say this evening, but that's because I'm from the UK, but for some of you in different places of the world, could be a different time for you. But thank you for giving me your precious time today to walk you through the following topic: how to get out of retail and land your dream job with work-life balance without taking a pay cut or using job search websites. So let's kick off. Let's begin. So who is this for? So I don't want you guys spending a whole couple of hours with me, or it's going to be about an hour in total with me, and it's not the right content for you. It's not what I've got the wrong audience on the call. So let me just be really clear, because we have had people join my master classes before, and they weren't in retail and it was pointless for them. So I don't want to waste your time, and yeah, I don't want to spend an hour talking to people that this isn't the right audience for. So retail managers, this is who it's for. So hope you guys joining me today are retail managers. What kind of retail managers? Retail managers that are currently dissatisfied with their current retail situation and career situation, and those just starting out on their retailscape journey. And maybe those that have thought about changing careers from retail, have tried to escape, but failed as a result. So 2 questions I want from you guys. I want to know who you are and where are you in the world right now, because we have people from across the globe join me for these masterclasses. And it's really key to point out that what I'm going to show you today is specific. It works in whatever country you're in. It is a career change strategy that works for any kind of industry, and it applies to any job market. So let me know where you are in the world, and let me know what you'd want to learn from today, just so I can head off some of the questions that I might get as we go through the content this evening. Give me 2 seconds. Right. So let me know in the comments. The comments are firing away, so bear with me. I will be keeping an eye on my phone as I go along as well. So just bear with me. So what are you going to learn today? So I'm going to walk you through why applying online doesn't work for a retail manager looking to change careers, what it takes to stand out and secure a job offer in another industry, even if you're up against people with more industry experience going for those vacancies. And you are going to leave today with an actionable job search strategy, one that works. You're going to go away with something that you can go away from and put into practice and secure job offers. And I've been running these masterclasses for a good couple of years now, and I have people message me all the time saying, Tom, I joined your masterclass, whichever day, and I've successfully changed careers. Thank you for your time that you gave me when I went through that, and thank you for giving me the confidence and the strategy to make it happen. So that could be you in a couple of months' time messaging me if you take action on what I show you this evening. On top of that, I will be walking you through further if you feel that you need more support from me, and how we can work together in the future to make sure that your retail escape happens. So that's the plan for today. Who am I? So some of you might know who I am. Some of you might have only just come into my world. So let me talk you through a little bit about me and my history. So I wouldn't be going through what I'm going through this evening if I hadn't been where you guys maybe are right now. I probably followed down a similar path to most people that end up in retail. I got a job in retail after leaving school because I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I thought, I'll get a job so I can figure out what it is I want to do. And 10 years passed, and I'd made a hefty good career out of being a retail manager, having progressed up the ranks from various different supervisor, team leader roles to department manager to store manager and to some regional roles as well. And although people think I don't like retail, there was times when I absolutely loved my career. But as I approached about 8 years in my retail career, things started to change. I started to feel burnt out. I started to get frustrated. Things in retail were changing very drastically. I was getting fed up with the lack of flexibility, the lack of balance in my life. There was things I wanted to do in my life that I was no longer getting time to do. I was getting frustrated with the unachievable expectations. Labor cuts were happening left, right, and centre, and they continue to do so. And that was actually leaving me to be very much more a robotic manager, where I was used to leading a team and getting to decide a specific strategy. And I was getting fed up. The digital age was making my job even more 24/7 than it was. Not only was I doing long days, but now technology was ensuring that even when I got home, I never really escaped the retail grind. Now, how many of you maybe felt that way? How many of you ended up in retail because you had no idea what you wanted to do in your career anyway? But how many of you also feel the way that I felt maybe 8 years into my retail career? And I imagine some of you guys on this call have done a decent amount of time in retail. So let me know in the comments. So I'm just going to keep an eye. So a lot of you feeling very similar in terms of some of the comments coming across from YouTube and LinkedIn. So some similar feelings. Definitely describing some of you, getting a lot of me's in there. So what changes? And for me personally, and something that you guys might be experiencing yourself, is when we started out in retail, especially if we started straight out of school, our lives were completely different. And as we get older, things change. We get more priorities. We get bills, mortgages. We have families. Actually, as we get older, time with our friends and family is more precious to us. So over the years, I always thought retail just got worse. I just thought retail, it's just horrible to work in now. But what I actually realized for me personally is I had changed an individual. And this is what happens to retail managers. And this is what happened to some of you on the call now, is that you might not realize when you became dissatisfied. And the chances are it's because you've changed as a person. Your job hasn't changed. There could be some of you that just hate your job for various different reasons. Maybe you hate your boss and so forth. But normally it's because we change as people, and it's time for a change. We've done long enough in retail. We've earned good money. We've built a career around it, and now it's time for a change. We're fed up with that lack of flexibility. It's time to do something about it. And that was where I got to. I wanted to do something about my situation, and I applied for 100 jobs. Jumped on the job search website, got my CV mocked up, applied for 100 jobs. And how many did I hear back from? Absolutely zero. How many of you have done that before? How many of you maybe have had a bad day at work and gone and applied for a ton of jobs? How many of you have just been fed up and just constantly applying for job after job? How many of you hear anything back? How many just get that, sorry, you've been unsuccessful, defaulted email? Let me know in the comments. So again, a lot of you resonating with what I'm saying here. And it left me feeling absolutely demoralized. I didn't hear back from any of those jobs. I've got the templates, so you've been unsuccessful, but I had no success with those. And it made me feel like, am I going to have to take a pay cut here? Am I going to be able to secure my retail salary in another industry? And it made me feel a bit worthless. It made me feel like my retail skills counted for nothing. It made me think that actually maybe people just look down on retail managers. And as a result, I felt trapped by two things: my lack of ideas. I had no idea what I was going to do instead. I had no idea how I was going to overcome these rejections. And I felt trapped by my salary. So let me know, guys, how many of you feel like you've been down this road before? Now, I am quite a determined individual, and I was determined to find a way. And I could have just applied for jobs, and I'd done it many times in the past leading up to the 8 years of me being dissatisfied. I'd applied for jobs, heard nothing back, and I kind of just got on with it. But this time I was determined to actually do something about my situation. And I thought, it would be easy. I thought, yeah, I'll find a way. You know, I'm used to being resourceful as a retail manager. I'll find a different way of doing it. Was it a quick fix? No, it took me 6 months of painful trial and error to figure out what it actually takes to secure a job in another industry. But let me tell you, it doesn't, it's something that everyone can achieve. And I've been through that painful trial and error, so you don't have to. So I'm going to walk you through tonight what I specifically learned during that journey. So it won't need to take you 6 months. And I won't go through what it is I went through, because that's the whole point of tonight's topic and what I'm going to walk you through. But what I learned and what I discovered through those painful 6 months of trial and error was what actually then started securing me job offer after job offer. And I actually received several job offers for companies outside of retail at this point in time. So 6 months later, and it was no longer the 100 applications, 100 rejections. Actually, it was more like I'm making a couple of applications a week, maybe 10 tops, and 2 or 3 of those actually resulting into interviews. So my success rate has gone from 0% to 30% per week. And I'm going to walk you through how that happened. And one of those offers that I did receive, I took. So again, I wouldn't be teaching you how to escape retail if I never actually physically escaped it or went into another career. I became an area manager for a not-for-profit company in the UK, delivering employability services to those in the UK. It was Monday to Friday. I got my first Christmas off. I didn't have to take a pay cut. And the fact that I was helping unemployed people, leading a team of people in a not-for-profit industry, it was amazing. I had job satisfaction. I could use my skills. It was no longer staffing cuts. It was making a difference to people's lives. And after 2 years, and this is what I see very often with retail managers that escape retail, move to other industries, I'd increased my salary by 30% just within the first couple of years since I left it. And that happens often because retail managers are amazing people. And once they get into other industries, they absolutely excel. So how did I come about doing what I'm doing now? I'd like to say it was all thought out, but nothing in my life has been thought out and planned, just like how I landed in retail. I escaped retail. I was absolutely loving life, loving the flexibility, loving the weekends off, loving the Christmas off. And I had people that left the company I worked for at the time, Sainsbury's, which was a big retailer in the UK. Asked me how I did it. I had people that I'd worked with previously in Sainsbury's asked me, yeah, how did you actually change careers? You know, Tom, you're no different than us, but we're not having any luck. And one by one, I started helping them with their CVs. I started helping them with their job search strategy. I helped them come up with career ideas. And one by one, they escaped retail. And that is ultimately how I came about doing what I'm doing now. I just started helping people, and it's turned me into, I guess, a role I've created myself as a retail escape specialist. So what kind of success have I had over the years? So here's a number of companies that I've helped retail managers join just for a start of a 10. So a lot of these are UK companies. I know there's a lot of you from across the world, and I've helped people from the US to France to China, all over the globe, land various different companies that obviously you won't see on here, and ultimately, which I'll cover a bit later, loads of small to medium-sized companies that none of you would have heard of. So there's no point me putting it on here, but are providing amazing career opportunities for retail managers just like you. So these are obviously some of the brands most of my audience would hear of. So what did I learn? This is probably what you want me to get to quite quickly. What did I learn in those painful 6 months of trial and error? And what I learned was what we're taught is wrong. So what I believed was the correct career change strategy was you get your CV or resume for those of you in other parts of the world. So if I say CV, I mean resume, just to clear that up at the beginning. So what we're taught is we get our CV mocked up, and we might tailor it to some of the jobs that we apply for. We hit the job search websites and we apply for anything that looks interesting. Yeah, how many of you have followed that approach? How many literally followed that step by step, and you've got your CV done, you've tailored it up, you've updated it, and you're just going through the job search websites, looking for anything that you kind of match, and you're applying for them. And then you sit back and wait. And to be fair, you probably got to the point now where you don't hear anything back. So you kind of go, oh, I might get lucky this time, and that's about it. How many of you have been through that process and that rat race? So why doesn't it work? Why doesn't the that process that we're all taught to use? you read it all online. It's job search websites exist, so you must think that must be how people use them, and that's what we're meant to use. But why doesn't it work? So, little pictorial. Most jobs in the world that we live in now, so we live in a real digital age, which is great for some reasons, because I'm connected to a good couple of hundred of you this evening talking to you about escaping retail. But it doesn't help us in the career change game, because it makes the ease of spotting vacancies much easier and makes the competition for those vacancies much higher. So back when I joined retail, we're talking about paper application, handed it in the store, you're hired. How many people would know there's a vacancy? Probably only people looking on the windows to see what kind of vacancies that store has. It's a much smaller candidate pool. Now, as you've got people now just sitting on their smartphones, and they can see those vacancies pop up time after time after time. So there's a lot more competition. So as a result, as I've said, most vacancies today will receive over 100 applications. Now, I'll talk through a little bit reasons around what kind of happens after them. But in the game of numbers, 100 applications, only 10 will get shortlisted from those 100 people. So already your odds are quite slim automatically in terms of getting shortlisted. If you're lucky, 5 of those 10 will be invited to an interview, and obviously only 1 of those people will land a job offer. So in essence, you've got a less than a 1% chance of landing a job online. The reason for that, obviously, there's 100 candidates, only 1 person gets the job, but all those candidates aren't equal either. You're going to have people that might be more experienced than you, that might do more than just applying using their CV and on a job search website. There's people using better strategies than you. So actually, you've almost got next to a 0% chance of landing a job online using that CV job search website approach. So although that might sound quite depressing, that's more to reassure you that what you're doing right now isn't because your value means nothing in the job market or that you've got no chance of securing a job outside of the retail. What it means is the strategy that you're using doesn't work. So don't take it personally. I took it personally, and it's easy to take it personally, but don't, because I'm going to walk you through why it's not working and what you can do instead. So why don't the traditional job search methods work? And when I say traditional job search methods, I talk about that CV job search website approach. Because of the amount of candidates that are applying for jobs, it does mean that companies have had to counteract that by putting more barriers up to stop people having those volumes of people being invited to interview. So one of the things you've probably heard of ATS, effectively, it's robots sifting CVs and resumes when someone applies. And the issue that creates for the standard retail career changer is you're applying for a job that is a career change. There is a change of skills or a change of job role, a change of experience there in itself. So these robots are sifting CVs, making sure that you match the job description as close as possible and shortlisting based on that. Now, if you've just discovered this job on a job search website, you could be just scrolling through and you found this job. You don't know of it that well. It just looks interesting. You're not going to know loads of information or inside information about that job in order to fully optimize and tailor your CV so you beat the sifting. So what happened for me when I applied for those 100 jobs, the chances are that none of those applications I made was ever actually read by a real person. And I can guarantee a lot of you on the call this evening, if you are following that, I'm just applying for some random jobs online as they come up, unless you really know that job, unless you really know the company, what kind of buzzwords they have. We've got buzzwords like shrink and KPIs and items per minute. That means something to us, but it doesn't mean anything to other industries. And likewise, they've got their own buzzwords that these robots are sifting CVs based on, and we might be none the wiser. So that's the first barrier that stops people securing interviews. Your CVs are not even making it in front of a hiring manager. If you're lucky and you have tailored your CV and it's got in front of a hiring manager, the CV hasn't moved with the times. It is very one-dimensional. It's a very old-fashioned piece of paper, which obviously is now digitalized, but it's very one-dimensional. How many of you on this call have tried to explain to people that don't work in retail what your job's like, how tough your job is? How many of you had to do that? Maybe to friends or family, or when you're out and so forth. How many of you have done that? Try to explain it. And unless you've worked in retail, you don't get it, do you? Yeah, unless you've worked in retail, you're never really gonna get retail. And okay, so we're trying to explain that to family and friends. Imagine trying to explain it to a hiring manager that you have never spoken to before, that might know nothing about the ins and outs of retail. Trying to get that across on a really boring chronological CV of your career to date is extremely hard. And that's another reason why it's hard for, and the traditional methods don't work, is because it's very hard to get your transferable skills across to a hiring manager. Another thing is, companies deem job search websites high risk strategies for hiring. It's almost like the last resort. There is loads of other strategies, whether it's getting a referral from someone within the company, hiring within the company, using recruitment agencies, having people sift jobs specifically for them. They're prioritizing other methods. And sometimes, again, the candidate pool that's coming through from job search websites aren't even getting reviewed in the first place because it's low quality. Anyone, I can apply for the CEO. If the CEO for Google job came up today, I could go and apply for the CEO at Google, and ultimately I'm just adding another one to those numbers. And that's exactly what's happening with candidates across the world. People applying and they're not qualified, and it's deeming job search websites as low risk because anyone can apply and anyone can see that vacancy. Ultimately, as you've probably already got the point, there's the most competition. So not only are those strategies stopping you from getting through, but it's the high volume. Everyone defaults going to job search websites. So again, you're facing much more competition down these routes. And all these strategies are there to design people being put off from applying for jobs. That how many of you read job descriptions that mention certain experience and qualifications that are on the job description? How many of you kind of looking for jobs that look interesting, and you're going, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, and then you get to the bottom and it says you need XYZ amount of years experience in the job and this certain qualification. They put barriers up. The traditional methods put barriers up to stop people applying, even though you might have the transferable skills. They're putting things on there that are putting you guys off. Just on this point, because it's one that stops people moving forward with their career change. Let me know in the comments, how many of you have been put off from applying for a job because it mentioned experience and qualifications that you don't have, and it says that they're desirable, maybe even mandatory. So some of you are saying, yep, you've done that before, you've been put off from it. So let me ask you this. When a company hires for a job, are they going to put on the average person that can do that job? Are they going to put on the person that just left that job? Are they going to put an advert on for the best possible candidate? Of course, they're always going to put the advert on for the best possible candidate. But does that person actually exist? If they existed, they'd already be doing the job. Similar to every role you guys are doing in retail right now. When you stepped into the role that you're doing now in retail, was you 100% ready for that job? Did you have, if you pulled out the job description, did you match it 100%? I know I didn't, and I can safely say that a lot of you, probably matched it about 80% of the way when you secured your job. And likewise, a lot of you might be hiring managers. How many of you pull out the job description and only give the job to the person that matches the job description 100%? I didn't even pull out a job description when I was hiring people. I knew what I wanted. I knew the top 3 or 4 things I wanted to see at interview. And I gave the person the job based on seeing those things, not because they matched all the little tick boxes on a job description. And so that's probably just a side point. Don't let job descriptions put you off from your dream job. As long as you match the job description 70% of the way, you should go for it. Moving on, because of job search websites being deemed low risk, high risk, most companies don't even post their senior vacancies online in the first place. So 80% of vacancies never make it online. Those senior vacancies where they're looking for thousands and thousands of salaried jobs never make it online for that reason. So you only have access to 20% of what's out there. Some other things that harm that interfere with this process. There's limited information about the jobs, job search websites. How awful are some of the job descriptions? How do you know it actually really is a job that you're going to like? The job descriptions are awful, in my opinion. And some other things, it's a very, you could hide behind your screen, apply for a job. Gone are the days when you're obviously going into stores and going into places to apply. It lacks the personal touch. So there's a number of reasons I've probably left you feeling depressed. But obviously, you're on here because I'm going to tell you what you do instead. But here's some of the reasons why those traditional methods don't work. So what you guys need to do instead, how are you going to bypass those traditional methods and increase your chances from 0 to 10, 20, 30% of chances of securing an interview for some of these jobs? So that's what I'm going to walk you through tonight. How you can boost your chances of landing your dream job by becoming a standout job seeker. So who's ready to learn how to become a standout job seeker, a standout retail manager in the job market? Who's ready? So the first thing you need to think about, and this is one of the biggest mistakes people make, and some of you have said that you've done this already on the call, is that whole lack of focus. So you jump on a job search website and apply for anything that looks interesting. And the problem with that is you can't be everything to everyone. Think of it in time like think how much of a scattergun approach that is. You've got hundreds of jobs out there in the world. You're making hundreds of applications, maybe 100 applications to 100 different companies. Although it's something I did and probably a lot of you are doing, can you see how scattergun approach that is, how unfocused that is? How can you really honestly say that you are tailoring and giving that application your 100% best when you're just applying for everything? There's no approach, there's no kind of structured or standardized approach to it. You're just firing off application after application for job title after job title. And as a result, can anyone honestly say that you're really optimizing and tailoring your CV to everything as well? 100 different companies, 100 different jobs. Is your CV and resume really tailored? Have you got time to tailor your CV and resume to every single job? I know I didn't. And then ultimately you start slacking in terms of the quality of your applications, the understanding of those jobs. Sometimes you start applying for jobs that you're not even that interested in. Loads of things where you just start wasting your time. A lot of people say to me, I don't know what I can do instead of retail. How many of you on this call actually know exactly what it is you want to do? Is there, who knows what job they're applying for, and more, you just need help from me this evening on how you secure that job? Because I guarantee most of you on this call probably have no idea what you want to do instead of retail anyway. So let me know in the comments. But while I wait for some of the comments to populate, if you don't define what it is you want to do, how will you know success when you see it? So a big mistake people make is, I want to change careers, but I don't know what I want to do. And ultimately, you're asking the wrong question. What you should be asking is, what do you want instead? What is it that retail isn't giving you? Is it, are you really clear that you want 9 to 5, Monday to Friday? What kind of bits of the job do you want? I've had people come to me when I started out in career coaching. I had lawyers and solicitors and attorneys come to me and want to change careers, but they had everything they wanted from a life point of view, but they hated the day in and day out of the job. So you've got to think about what kind of skills do you enjoy using as well. And when you start defining those things, some of the things you want, the kind of the 9 to 5s, the Monday to Fridays, the flexibility, what type of what, remote working, office based, what kind of skills, leadership, customer service. When you start defining actually the stuff that you really want next in your careers, maybe some of the stuff you don't have in retail, that's when you start creating a picture of what it is you want. And I'm going to show you a real good trick of how you can turn that information into real career ideas based on what you want. So the mistake we make is we apply for anything that looks interesting and it's never tailored to us. So one thing that I really recommend you do, and this is the only time I'll ever be pro job search website. Job search websites are good for research. So what you can do, and I put a little picture on here on the slide, is instead of typing a job title, because you're not defined by your job title, you're not defined by retail, you're defined by the skills that you've developed. Instead of typing your job title into a job search website, type in the skills that you have. Type in some of the things you want your career to give you. And what a job search website then does is it generates results based on those words appearing in that job description where it appears most often. So from a leadership point of view, if you want, if leadership is one of your top skills, put leadership in. If you want to work Monday to Friday in a leadership role, put leadership Monday to Friday. If there's a certain salary that you want or need, put the salary in there. And what it will do is it will generate ideas that match you and what you want. Give it a go. Go away from this call. Don't jump off now and start doing it, but how many of you are thinking, oh, I've never really approached that before. I never knew that that was something that you could do. But the great thing about that approach is it will generate ideas based on what you want, as opposed to that scattergun approach. And what you want to do from there is start pulling out. You'll start going down, seeing some common themes. And it's those themes that you can explore in terms of, actually, is that the type of career idea that I want to proceed with? So who's heard that idea? Yeah, let me know in the comments. Who's ever come across that technique for generating ideas? Another issue is when you're using that scattergun approach for applying for anything that looks interesting, is you're never really looking for ideas that excite you. Now, how many of you, and I've done this before, have applied for a job that you just applied for it because you just, yeah, it's okay, it looks half interesting, so you're going to apply for it, but it doesn't really excite you. It doesn't really, you don't read it and go, that would be my dream job. How many of you applied for, half average jobs just because you've gone for it? Because that's what I used to do. But the issue is how you're going to stay motivated in your job search if all you're doing is applying for jobs that just are half average. So what I want you to do, I could talk about this all evening. There's a lot more we can cover on here, but I want you to really, I guess the learning to take away from this step is you will not have success in the job market until you are clear on what you want. There's no way you're going to stand out from 100 applicants if you're the only one that's unsure of what you want to do. So step one, get clear on what you want to do. And that's not saying that you have to know the exact job title, but you do want to know what kind of types of roles that you're going for. Are you going for management leadership type roles? Are you going for, customer service operation type roles? Are you going for something, completely different, maybe HR type roles? But you need to get very close to the type of job you want to do. Step two, with that in mind, so you've got an idea of the type of job you want to do. You can't stand out to 100 different companies. I've already mentioned that already. How can you honestly apply for 100 different jobs at 100 different companies? It's not possible. How many of you actually have the time to keep doing that, to stay motivated, to keep applying for job after job? Now, this seems quite simple to me now, but when I was in the place that you guys are in, again, I just kept it easy and started applying for anything that looked interesting. But you want to be laser focused. And the only way you can be laser focused is actually getting focused on your job search. So you're going to define the type of job you want to do. But then what I want you to do is identify 10 companies that you really want to work with, those dream companies. We're not talking about I'm not talking you through this evening how to make a boring career change or just an okay career change. Let's talk about landing your dream job. And this is where this is the chance for you to excite yourself. The only way you're going to make this career change happen is when that career change excites you. You're going to stay motivated. When times are hard and you might get that rejection, you really want to work at that company and it will be your dream to get there. So think about those dream companies. I listed some companies on here in the UK that have helped people secure. If any of those are dream companies to you, that's what we're aiming for here. So once you've identified the type of job you want to do, I want you to narrow it down to 10 companies offering that job, because you can then be the most prepared job seeker out there. Most people are doing exactly what you guys are all doing right now. A lot of you all said that you resonate with just applying for anything that looks interesting. So imagine if you were one of a few candidates that are very targeted on your job search. You knew what 10 companies you want to work on. And because you're only focusing on 10 companies, you can research them better than anyone else. You can learn more than anything else. You can tailor your CVs to their specific companies. You can learn about their buzzwords by really researching their website, speaking to people at the company, doing a lot more that people that are just using that scattergun approach don't have the time and don't do because they're not being targeted. Ultimately, from a company point of view, companies obviously are looking for skilled candidates that can do the job. But ultimately, a lot of them are just looking for motivated candidates. And the amount of times when I escaped retail and I became an area manager for not-for-profit, and I had people apply for my jobs, and I had a lot of retail managers apply for some of the vacancies that I had in the job that I changed careers into. And people just weren't putting effort into their cover letters, into their CVs, into their applications. And it's because ultimately they weren't understanding the business I worked for, because they were being too scattergun. They weren't putting enough time into it. And again, just blending in with the crowd. And I didn't interview any of those people. Another thing to remember when you're putting together your list of target companies is what type of companies you're focusing on. So here's a question for you guys on the call. Name me a popular fizzy drink that comes to mind. So fire in the comments, name a popular fizzy drink that comes to mind. So getting Coke, getting Pepsi, normally get some random ones, which I'm sure will come up in the chat as well. Yeah, Diet Pepsi, Coca-Cola. So, yep, Coke, yep. Red Bull, yep. So I've asked you that question, and you've obviously fallen into the trap and named some big brands. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make is when they think about changing careers, they think of all those big companies. But here's a statistic for you. Only 1% of companies out there employ more than 100 people. So when you guys think about those big brands, the ones that everyone's thinking of and going for, they only make up 1% of all employers out there. And actually, most of the people I help go to some of those small and medium companies because there's a lot less competition. And it's all about knowing, looking into your local labour market and what smaller companies are there. But it's just one thing to bear in mind when you're putting to your list of your 10 target companies. Don't exclude some of those small to medium companies that are local to your area, because you've got even a better chance of standing out because there's a lot less competition. So you've narrowed down the type of idea that you want to do, which is going to help you stand out because you've got more career clarity. You're going to target 10 specific companies. So, who here has a target list of companies that they're focusing on? Who has, these are my dream employers. If I get a job at one of these companies, I would really be happy. That would be exactly what I want to get next from my career. Who's got a target list? Who's going to go create a target list after this course? Let me know in the comments. So, armed with a target list of employers, you're already standing out from the crowd because you're going to be more researched than anyone else. You're already starting to become a standout job seeker. But now we're going to take it to the next level and help you stand out even further. And that's about having conversations with people at those 10 companies that you want to work for. Now, this is the dirty word networking. And when I say networking, a lot of people shudder. And I used to think of networking and gone, oh no, yeah, not that's not really for me. That always feels a bit awkward. But let me tell you this: networking is just like asking for directions. So when you guys, how many of you got lost somewhere? I get lost all the time. But if I'm lost in a new town somewhere that I've not been before, and you're trying to get somewhere, you ask for directions, don't you? You say, yeah, I'm trying to get to this place. You look local here. How do I get there? And most of the time, people try and help you, unless you're in a really bad neighborhood. Most of the time, people try and point you in the right direction, or they will say, no, I don't know that place. I can't help. And you'll move on to the next person. That's exactly the mindset you need to have for this step of standing out in the job search process. Is when you reach out to people, it shouldn't feel awkward. You are asking them for directions. So if you've got 10 target companies, you want to be speaking to people at that company, ideally even doing the job that you want to do. And the reason why that helps is, firstly, you want to find them on LinkedIn to cut straight to the point. And a lot of you have follow me because I'm on LinkedIn myself, because LinkedIn is a social network, and it is a network where people expect people to reach out to you, or we wouldn't be on there. It's a professional network. But the great thing about this approach is that you're going to get insight that these other 100 candidates aren't going to have. If you're reaching out to people at the 10 companies that you want to work for, and you get conversations with them, and I'll explain a little bit about how you do that, they can give you valuable insight. They can give you insight into the buzzwords that these companies use. They can give you insight into the job. You might not know 100% what you want to do, but when you start talking to people doing the jobs you want to do at these companies, they're going to give you insight, and you can understand, actually, is it a job that I want to do? Is it a job that I can do? Have I got the skills? By talking to someone actually doing this job, I only ever know retail. Maybe now I understand that I can do the job. A real good tip for you is how to really maximize LinkedIn to find these people. So in the search bar on LinkedIn, type in the job you want to do. So let's say you want to be an operations manager at a local charity. So I'll just use which one comes straight to mind? Cancer research, because I think that's quite universal. You could go into the search bar on LinkedIn, type in operations manager, and then you can choose current company, and you can just type in the company you want to apply for, that you could be on your target list, and then it'll bring up all the operations managers that work at your target company. Voila! Now you've got people you can reach out to. So just apply that to, obviously that's just a specific off the top of my head example. But once you've got your target list of companies and you know what type of role you want to do, just apply that approach. Now, here's probably the one that works really well for me. There is a retail manager in every corner of the globe in companies across the world that have made the same leap that you desire. And the great thing about LinkedIn, and you, again, using my previous example, operations manager in the search bar, set the filter to people, set current company, Cancer Research UK. Then there's a filter on LinkedIn that goes past companies. Now just go past companies and type in all the different retailers that you've got in the country where you are. So, in the UK, I do Sainsbury's, Tesco's, Asda's, Morrison's, Lidl's, M&S, and so forth. What that will do is narrow my search down further. Now I've got a list of people that are operations managers for Cancer Research UK that used to work in retail. And they are the best people to reach out to because they are because they've made the leap that you want to make. So valuable insight in terms of how they did it. But retail managers, once you've worked in retail, it's always part of you, and they're more likely to reply to you. So if you're reaching out to them randomly on LinkedIn, say, look, I see that you used to work in retail. You now work in my target company. I'd love to hear about how you made the transition. Bang, there you go. Did that feel awkward? Did that feel like something that you wouldn't reply to if someone the same to you? If you work for Tesco's here in the UK and someone reaches out saying, I see you used to work in this industry, now you work for Tesco's. I'd love to hear about how you made that transition. How many of you wouldn't respond to that? I know I'd respond. Whether I jump on a call might be depending on how much time I've got, but I'd definitely give someone a response and point them in the right direction. And that's effectively what I'm asking you to do here. Have conversations with people, ideally find ex-retail managers. How many of you ever used that approach before? How many of you ever used LinkedIn to target specific people, but also target retail managers that used to, that now work in other industries that used to work in retail? How many of you ever done that before? The great thing about speaking to real people is you're starting to build a name for yourself. So you're reaching out to all these different people at your target companies. You're now putting a face to the name. All these 100 applicants that are applying for jobs, they're all faceless applications. But now you're starting to put your name out there. You'll start to recognize your name. When I left retail, and again, was having people apply from retail to some of the vacancies that I was recruiting for, I started recognizing names. Those people maybe had spoken to me in the past about some of the vacancies that I'd had. Some of them asked me what it was like being an area manager for the charity I was working for. And I was starting to know them. And it was putting a face to the name. And then when vacancies came up that I thought these people might be interested in, I'd let them know because I knew they were interested. I know they'd taken the effort to speak to people within my organization. And that's effectively how you can land referrals. So a lot of you have probably heard before that landing referrals is actually quite a successful job search strategy. I'm effectively laying it out for you how you realistically make that happen. And if you are referred to a job, you actually statistically have a 50% success rate of actually landing a job if you've been referred. That's how powerful being referred. And you having all these, if you're only targeted on 10 companies, you're going to increase your chances of actually being referred. This is also how you access those vacancies that I said that you don't see online. When you're having conversations with people with these specific companies, you're going to find out about vacancies that haven't yet been posted or may not have been posted on a job search website because you're having conversations with real people doing the job. And ultimately, worst case scenario, talking to some of these people, you're going to be able to optimize your CV and resume, cover letters, marketing documents better than all those other standout job seekers. So what I want you to do, identify 10 target companies. I want you to go away and reach out to 10 people at each of those target companies. Mixtures of ex-retail managers working at those companies, mixture of people now doing that job that you want to do there, maybe some people doing some different jobs that you might find interesting that you want to find a bit more about. but I want you to go out there. This is the hardest step. I can tell you to do it, but you might not do it. But at the moment, a lot of you guys might be having no results at all. And I really do challenge you to go and do this, because here's a testimonial that I received earlier this year. And this was someone that, to be fair, didn't doubt the process, but probably had some reservations that you guys might be having right now about actually reaching out to people. And I'm not going to read this testimonial like for like, but probably some of the key bits I'm going to point out here is, I've reached out to 3 people, and believe it or not, all 3 replied straight back to me. I was amazed at how helpful they were, and believe it or not, one of them was actually an old work colleague, and they invited me for lunch to have a catch up. This is how simple it is. But probably another bit, all because I decided to follow your advice and build up the confidence to actually reach out to people. People buy people. That is how people get recruited. And it does take you to step outside your comfort zone. This is the only way you're going to become a standout job search, standout job seeker, and start having connections with real people. And I can promise you, you'll get much better results than what you're doing sitting behind a computer screen, applying for jobs online. So we're going to take it to the next level now. So already having a target job, having target companies, and starting to have conversations within these companies already are probably setting you. We're probably talking about you're going to have 30% better success rate now of actually securing an interview at some of these companies. But now you can take it to the next level and increase your chances to even more those 50% levels. And that's about networking with hiring managers, hiring for the job that you want to do. So here's an example, on here in terms of how you find these people. But if you search on my website and look at my newsletter, I share some how-to guides on how to do this in a bit more detail. But again, LinkedIn, the place to be. So in the top right corner, might be a bit skewed by my face, but it doesn't matter massively, is I found a random job on LinkedIn, which was a senior talent and leadership. I can't remember what it was because my face is in the way, but I think it was a manager role. And that looked really interesting to me. So I went onto LinkedIn and I searched for talent, filtered it down to Macmillan Cancer Support, and that found all the people that had talent in their job description working at that company. And what I did is looked for who I believe would be the hiring manager for this role. And when applying for this job, what I would do is I would apply for the job and follow a message up to who I believe is the hiring manager, saying, look, I've made an application for this job, really interested about working here. If you are the hiring manager for this role, I'd love to pick up a conversation. If you're not, no problem. But if you could point me in the direction of someone that can help me so I can understand a little bit more about the role. What does that do ultimately? It does 2 things. First thing it does is puts a face to the name. So again, 100 applications. There could be 100 people applying for this senior talent and leadership role. But you could be the only person actually reaching out, making some effort, doing things a bit differently, and putting a face to the name. Hundreds of applicants, completely faceless. You're putting a face to the name. This will make you feel uncomfortable. You might feel like this is being a bit underhand, but it's the only way you're going to stand out if you're actually having these conversations. And the great thing is you'll get valuable insight if you get through to the hiring manager about what they're looking for in an ideal candidate. What's the right person? So then you can tailor your approach. Maybe you've not made an application yet. Maybe you really want to be a senior talent leadership, but you've not seen the job come up yet, or there isn't a vacancy, and you're going to reach out to the hiring manager to find out a little bit about the job. So when it does come up, you're ready for it. So who's ever reached out to a hiring manager before? Who's ever gone to that extra effort to find a hiring manager for a job that you want to do? And I mentioned already, people buy people. They don't buy a faceless application on a job search website. Having a real quality conversation is something that is ultimately more powerful than just a boring paper application. And I know for a fact, from a retail manager point of view, get you guys in front of a hiring manager. How many of you know that you would be able to, really nail it, be able to explain your transferable value, getting on a telephone call with someone? How many of you have, how many know that you could nail it if you could just get through the door, get a conversation going with some of these people? And that's how you do it. So what I want you to do is you got the target 10 companies, you're reaching out to people. I want you to go in for the kill. I want you to find a job that you want to apply for at one of these companies and find the hiring manager, whether it's through the people you've already been connecting with and you found out the hiring manager through them, or you found them using this approach that I've just showed you on here. I want you to send a message. Send a message either following an application or before you make an application. So you might see the job come up, reaching out to you because I want to know a little bit about the job. Love to have a conversation to see if my skills would be valuable to your organization. How many are you going to go and do that? How many can see the value on how that helps you stand out from the crowd? And the final step, this is the silver bullet. This is what lands everyone the job. This is what no one else is doing. I absolutely love this approach. And I got done by this approach when I was a store manager in retail. So I should really know that this worked, but I guess, you don't know what you don't know, and you can be naive at times. So when I was a store manager in retail, I had a team leader vacancy, and I had someone make an application, and they applied with a standard application, but they also applied with a SWOT analysis, a strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats of the store that I was a store manager of. So, I like the look of it, and I invited them in for an interview. And they came in with me with a ring binder. They pulled out a ring binder. They'd done this detail, so they sent like a synopsis kind of thing as part of their application. They pulled out this ring binder. This is talking a few years ago now. And they had done a whole review of my store through the eyes of the customer, through the eyes of the manager. You could completely bet that I gave this person the job. And this is effectively what I want you guys to do. You've got your CV, you've got your resume, those boring, as I've mentioned, boring one-dimensional marketing materials. What I'm talking about here is something different, not a cover letter, something that you would send along with your application, whether you're applying for a job or you're making a speculative approach. You're going, I would really love to work for your company. Here's my CV. Here's a little bit about me. What this is a tailored portfolio about you and how you'd be a great fit for their organization. It could be, probably not in this day and age, that the ring binder that I was done by when I was a retail manager. It ultimately, in most cases, is a 4 to 5 slide presentation that's tailored to who you are, what you have to offer their organization, and you're going to send it along with your CV and your application. And the great thing about this is a real perfect document where you can really sell your transferable skills. A CV can't do that. You can only really put the chronological list of your jobs and some of your achievements. This is how you can put into words your transferable retail value. So if you're applying to be an operations manager of a huge operation, you can then put into words in a bit more of a colorful and visual way of how you as a retail manager can manage a similar operation in their organization. Bearing in mind, leading up to this point, you're talking to people that work at the company. You may have even spoken to the hiring manager. So you could have had a conversation on the phone with the hiring manager. Tell me about some of the challenges you're facing. Tell me a little bit about the job. You can take that information, go away and put together a 2 to 3 slide presentation on why you would be the solution to their problems, why everything they told you on that call, you'd be a perfect fit. And it doesn't take long. The more you do this, the more you get used to it. I was able to write one for each of my companies that I had on my target list. It took me, probably the first one took me about 4 hours to write. After then, I could write one in about an hour. I'm not telling you guys to go out there and make a retail value proposition for every single target company. But if you're starting to have conversations with people within these companies, and you're starting to have good conversations with hiring managers, start building them for the ones you're getting the best results at, the ones where you're getting more connections at that company, the ones where you're learning some real quality stuff. And this is ultimately the showstopper. This is the silver bullet that will secure your job, because no one is doing this. How many of you, like I say, I got done by this many years ago, but how many of you have, ever attempted to send something different to the norm, send something that isn't your CV? How many of you done something like this before? Let me know in the comments. But this is how you secure similar salaried roles to your retail job, or actually secure pay rises, because you're standing above the crowd. You can showcase your value in a more transferable way. And you're just showing that you're a better quality candidate that's putting the effort in. They're going to pay you the money that you deserve as a result. So what I want you to do, you've got your 10 target companies, you're having conversations with people at that company. Hopefully you're having conversations with the hiring manager. But I want you to now put together your own retail value proposition. Something, 3 to 5 slides max, who you are, how you can help them. Ideally focus on specific challenges that that they face and why you're motivated to work for them. So who can see the value on how this would ultimately help you stand out? You've got 100 faceless applications. You're the one understanding the company better than anyone else. You're the one actually having real quality conversations with people in the industry. You're the one actually building connections with the hiring manager and putting a face to the name. You're the one sending something that no one else is sending. So let's go back to the beginning. If we think of the example of 100 people applying for a job, generally, you'll probably find about 93% of those people are all doing the same boring thing. They're applying online using, a scattergun approach, just applying with an application using their CV and resume. I've already mentioned at the beginning of this presentation that out of 100 people, you're probably going to get 10 people shortlisted. So by default, if you're the one doing all the things we've spoken through already, and these are just a couple of the bits, some of the top tips I want you guys to go, I could talk for hours and hours and hours about this stuff and how you can stand out even more. But if you went away with these things, can you see how actually you could be one of those lucky people to be shortlisted and invited in for an interview? Because 93%, 93 out of 100 people are doing the boring things. You've only got to make the cut of the final 10 by being slightly different to be able to actually secure yourself an interview. So if you're the only one getting clear on what you wanted, excited and motivated because you're going for jobs that you really wanted, that you're passionate about, that you'd find time to put that extra effort in, you were targeting specific companies, ensuring that you were the most knowledgeable candidate on the market for their jobs. You were speaking to people at these companies, gaining a market advantage as a result. You're putting a face to the name by speaking and understanding the hiring manager's needs. And you were the only one sending a retail value proposition outlining your transferable skills. Can you see how now you can become a standout job seeker, how you can stand out as a retail manager in the market? How many of you have taken away some bits that it's not groundbreaking stuff, but it's a lot of stuff that we failed to do. I didn't do any of this stuff when I was applying for jobs outside of retail. I did the standard stuff for some reason. It all, seems clear to me now, but I never did these things. So how many of you have, are going to go away and do these different things? How many of you are going to become a standout job seeker? And in terms of success rates doing these things, it might seem kind of simple stuff, but you're just elevating yourself in the job market. You're going to go from a less than 1% success rate to potentially, you could be getting 50% of the jobs you apply for. You could be getting interviews because that's the kind of standard rates that I see when people follow these approaches. And that's how you become a standout job seeker. So a few success stories of people I've worked with over the years. So Martin wanted to be a HR business partner because as a retail store manager, he had a lot of HR experience, and he was really passionate about going down that. And ultimately, HR generally comes with a lot more work-life balance as a result, normally Monday to Friday. Some of the challenges that Martin had is HR, generally a lot of roles out there require certain qualifications. He'd applied for a lot of jobs, had no success. He came to me and we worked together on helping him become a standout job seeker. Probably the most successful part of his strategy was actually reaching out to HR professionals at some of his local HR companies. He reached out to a few people and didn't get much success, but he stuck at it. And that's what I'd really say about the whole reaching out with people is, I shared one story where someone reached out to 3 people, 3 people got back, they got invited in for an interview. But it won't always be as simple as that. You might need to reach out to 10 people, you might need to reach out to 15 people. But if you're really passionate, for example, as Martin was working in HR, you instead of making 100 applications, have 100 conversations instead. I can guarantee you're going to be much closer to securing your dream job outside of retail and HR, if that's what you want to do, than making 100 faceless applications. So Martin reached out to a few people and didn't have much success. But I asked him to keep at it and keep speaking to HR professionals. And once he'd spoken to probably about 30 people in total, and one of the people that he was speaking to actually presented him with an opportunity. They loved what he had to say. They loved him as a person, and they invited him in for an interview. And he successfully secured a job. And the whole that conversation piece, the types of numbers, after 6 weeks of actually just networking with people, instead of making 100 applications, having 100 conversations instead, he was securing 2 to 3 interviews per week, especially near the end. He ultimately had 2 job offers for HR on the table. He had to choose between them. So going from having no offers, he went to the point where he got 2 at exactly the same time. And as you can see in terms of his comments, saved him from the horror of retail. And it was a lot easier than retail, which it generally feels like when you've been in retail yourself. Next up was Sylvia. Again, probably similar. Not everyone goes into HR, but Sylvia also was looking to HR, which is generally a career choice that a lot of retail managers like. She was quite skeptical. So she'd actually spent quite a bit of money on career coaching and getting her CV and resume updated, but hadn't really got anywhere. And that's because ultimately, it's all about strategy. There's not many people that talk about the specific strategy. You might read a lot of guides online. A lot of it's more, very woolly. There's not much around job search strategy. Again, after working with Sylvia for 8 weeks, she got a dream job in HR. Again, she didn't need a qualification either. She stood out in the market. She showed her transferable skills in terms of what she had in HR and what she'd done in her retail management job. And as a result, secured more balance in her life as well. So how many of you have been excited about what I've spoken about tonight? How many are going to go away and take action on what I've showed you this evening? Let me know in the comments. So a lot of you have already said that you're definitely going to go away and do that, but let me know. So I've got some great takeaways. So is everyone happy for me to talk through for the next 10 minutes or so how you can progress further with me if you feel that you need more support? So who wants to hear a little bit about how I can help you further? So yep, getting comments. So let's have a look. So my Retail Escape Accelerator. This is something I haven't run for a year, in fact, to be fair. So I kind of stepped back from doing a lot more one-to-one and group coaching to focus on a lot of courses some of you guys might have seen in the past from me that I offer in terms of my career change courses. But the thing I love is I love connecting with retail managers. I love speaking to you guys. I love helping you guys. I love connecting with real people. As I've kind of said throughout this masterclass tonight, it is all about people. So I'm getting back into the group coaching and one-to-one coaching space. And I ran my Retail Escape Accelerator about a year ago. And I'm opening the doors again to it now. So what is it? If you've not come across it, because you probably have, unless you've been in my world for over a year, you might not know about my Retail Escape Accelerator. So it's a 4-week group coaching program. If you join the Accelerator, you get access, lifetime access to all my courses anyway. So yeah, if you've been thinking about joining my courses, you get all of that as part of the Accelerator. The whole point of the Accelerator is I put it in it's built with a busy retail manager in mind. So we're approaching Christmas, believe it or not. Yeah, I haven't worked out how many days we've got till Christmas, but from my retail days, I know I'd start doing some retail Christmas planning at this point in time. And I know you guys have probably got very limited time as it is right now. So my Retail Escape Accelerator is designed to give you everything you need to become a standout job seeker in the least possible time. Ultimately, it's 4 weeks, 4 Tuesdays. That's all you need. That's all I need with you to walk you through exactly what you have to do, to guide you through the steps I've walked you through tonight in a lot more detail. I could talk for hours and hours and hours, to take you from getting no interviews to getting 1 to 2 interviews per week at the companies that you dream to work of, the ones that would absolutely change your life if you work for. It's a more intense one-to-one program. You work a lot closer. It's not a digital course in terms of, you get access to me. You get the support from me. So it's tailored to your individual needs and your individual goals. I'm running 2 cohorts. So if you join the Accelerator now, you can join both of these cohorts, or you can join one of them, whatever. But it starts in October, ready to give you everything you need to escape retail before Christmas, Or if you think actually you want to wait, hold off a little bit, you can join the accelerator after Christmas and make sure that 2024 is the year that you escape retail. If you sign up now, as I said, you can join both cohorts. A little bit more detail about what you get with the accelerator. So like I said, it's a 4-week program, but I guess to paint a little picture around what I've gone through with you this evening and how the accelerator can ultimately accelerate your progress and help you get that result and get those interviews. So for example, I've talked you through how you can generate career ideas, but there's so much more to it. And you'll learn the techniques that I guide all the people I've worked with over the years, from having no idea what they want to do from a retail perspective, how I guide them through simple techniques to generate real career ideas. And with this step, I will help you generate over 30 realistic career ideas that you can do with your retail skills that won't require you to take a pay cut. So basically the ones that you're best fit for, giving you some of the things that you want next in your career. And I've given you one technique tonight, but I've got loads of them to help you really get clear and get clarity. Some other things you get with the accelerator is you get access to have a career clarity session with me. So we can talk through, you might go through these strategies and still be struggling. And we can work together to make sure you get complete career clarity. And that will give you the motivation to really push on with your job search. In terms of identifying 10 target companies, again, I've given you some ideas on where you can find these companies and what kind of things you should look for. But I lay it out for you step by step. Where do you find these companies? How do you find local companies? How do you find those small to medium companies within your local area? I walk you through how you specifically build your top 10 list, and we build that list together live on our Tuesday calls. And then I'm going to walk you through how you research these companies. Again, only so much I can cover on a call, but I walk you through how you can learn absolutely everything about your 10 target companies so you can really stand out in the job market. Then when we spoke about speaking to people doing the job that you want, I'm going to help you. I've walked through roughly on this call, but I'm going to walk you through how you find those retail managers that made the career change you want, how you reach out to them, what kind of things you say to them, scripts in terms of what kind of things you message people, how you get people to actually reply to you. One of the things people love about the accelerators, I build your CV and resume for you. So you work out what you want to do and you have conversations with people in the industry you want to do. And you go, Tom, this is what I found out. Now optimize and build me a CV, and I build it from scratch with you, and you get an hour with me to build and optimize your CV. So you've got a standout CV and resume in the job market. And again, there's some other marketing materials we haven't touched on tonight, but I walk you through how you can effortlessly build a job-winning cover letter in less than 30 minutes, one that's tailored to the job, one that's better than all those candidates out there using default and templated cover letters. And then in terms of influencing the hiring manager, I walk you through how you find those hiring managers in more detail, how you master networking, having conversations without feeling awkward, without feeling sleazy, how you can turn them into someone that is rooting for you, for someone that they really want to hire, how you can get across your transferable value to them. And I'll walk you through some of the strategies on how to get people to reply, because some of you guys might have messaged people before and had no replies to any of those messages. So I'll walk you through how you get past that. And then in terms of the retail value proposition, I walk you through on screen how you build a retail value proposition from scratch. I'll give you a template that you can use to fill in, and then I'll walk you through where you get the information, what kind of things should go onto it. Ultimately, I help you prepare your first retail value proposition. So who's excited about some of these things in the accelerator? Let me know in the comments. Who feels that they might need this extra guidance? So what are some of the things that are included? So like I say, it's 4 weeks. It's for someone that does not have much time. It's almost like I'm going to commit to October or January. I'm going to learn everything I need to do to escape retail. I'm going to put that into practice, and I'm going to be armed with everything I need to escape retail. So it's 4 weeks of live training with me. It's 1.5 hours every Tuesday for 4 weeks. So that's all it is. So, in total, 6 hours, that's all you need to master what I teach and what I show you to have a standout job search strategy. And after then, all it takes is a couple of hours per week to put into practice everything you've learned in those 4 weeks to start landing 2 to 3 interviews per week at your dream companies. That's the only investment of time that you need. On top of that, you get 4 live group group Q&A calls, so that you, by the 4 weeks, have a tailored job search strategy built to you. So you are completely clear after those 4 weeks what you have to do in terms of your individual circumstances and what you want to achieve. So we walk you through on the group Q&As to build that winning job search formula. And I've got a promise for you. If you don't start receiving interviews after your first 6 weeks of working with me, so 4 weeks to put it into practice in terms of learning everything, and then starting to put into practice what I've taught you, I'll keep working with you until you start landing interviews. So ultimately, you've got yourself a career coach until you start landing interviews. Yeah, how great does that sound? Some other things you get is you get actual one-to-one time with me. So you might be struggling for career ideas. We'll do a career clarity session where we thrash out what it is you want to do next in your career. Some of you guys might know what you want to do, and you might be struggling with your job search strategy. Maybe you're not getting the results you want. So we could walk through that instead. But either way, we can work together to overcome some of the challenges you could be facing. As I've mentioned already, I build your CV or resume for you. And we have a 60-minute resume and LinkedIn review to ensure that your marketing materials are on point for the job you want to do, so you can become a standout job seeker. Some of the extra benefits you get as well is you get access to my Retailscape Academy, which you can buy from my website right now for 620 quid. But you get access to that included, and you get access to all my courses and anything I bring out in the future as well. So once you invest, you become part of my world, and you get everything you ever need to escape retail. So here's everything you get in terms of, one-to-one with me, the 4 weeks of coaching, the 4 weeks of training, the CV, the resume, access to all my courses. And ultimately, the main aim of why you'd be doing all this is to have a dream career either before Christmas, so you can make sure you've escaped retail before Christmas, or you could join in January's cohort. You can join either, like I said, and you escape in 2024. There's a huge amount of value there. Obviously, you ain't going to pay that specific value. So you get over 3.5 grand's worth of value in that. And I want to walk you through one of last year's students that went through the accelerator, and a little testimonial in terms of what he's achieved specifically. So landed a job in the construction sector as a project manager. Didn't have project manager qualification. It's some completely different job for them. Monday to Friday, they got a pay rise, and as you can see in the comments there, a massive release from the stress and almost impossible expectations we're now subject to in retail. So this is someone that went through my accelerator and went through the 4-week process, learned everything they needed to do to escape retail, put that into practice, and now they're in their dream Monday to Friday job, and they've secured a pay rise, which is a common theme of people that go through my programs. So what will you pay for all this? In October, I'm going to be promoting this quite heavily in September for the October cohort. It's going to be going live for $997. But you guys have invested time with me this evening, and I'm putting on an early bird special as a result for you guys that have joined me tonight. So in terms of the price, it'll be £798 at the discounted price. So in September, later on this month, people are going to be joining for $997. But for you guys that have joined my masterclass this evening and between now and Sunday, you have a chance to join it on an early bird offer, which is 20% off. If you go to my website, so you'll see at the bottom, retailscapeproject.com/replay. That's where you can watch a replay of this video later on tonight. But also you can look into a little bit more detail about my accelerator, but you can also secure your space on the accelerator at an early bird discount. Few last bits about it. No losses of earnings. You do not need to take a pay cut to change careers. It is nothing. Everyone that I've worked with over the years believes that they should take a pay cut, that they need to take a pay cut. But when you become a standout job seeker, you're standing out from the crowd. You're securing higher salaried offers because you're presenting yourself as the best candidate, someone worth investing in. In terms of average pay rises, obviously, we've probably got a lot of people in the US, but people that go through the standout job seeker process actually secure pay rises in jobs outside of retail because they've understood their value and they're selling their value in a better way. And companies are paying for that. And like I say, even for me, I'd increased my salary within the first couple of years when I escaped retail, and people are doing it all the time. So people actually don't take pay cuts using my programs. They actually get pay increases. So in terms of the investment, most people earn back the money that they invest in this program. So not only do they get a dream career, but they've made their money back in pay rises within a couple of months alone. In terms of the standard process, it can take you up to 13 months to change careers using the standard approaches that a lot of people use. That's a long time. That's a lot of work. Whereas the people that I work with as part of these programs secured jobs 4 times faster. And, again, we haven't got enough time in the day as it is as a retail manager. And like I say, my commitment to you, and this is my promise, is if you don't start receiving interviews after 6 weeks, I'll keep working closely with you until you do at no extra cost. So I'll keep working with you. We'll keep sharing messages. We'll keep talking through your strategy. I'll keep helping you until you get the job search strategy that works for you. And you're the person sending me another testimonial saying, I've escaped retail. I love my new career. And I'll keep working with you until we get you there. To make it accessible, also I have payment plans as a result of it. I'll put some of the US prices. So this is the discounted prices. One-time payment of $798. The US prices are approximate depending on the fees at the time. But yeah, we've got a 3 monthly payment plan and a 6 monthly payment plan for those that want to spread the cost. And the great thing is, like I say, you can join in October's cohort and plan your retail escape before Christmas this year. If you feel that might be a bit too soon, you can invest now and join my cohort in January, or you can join both of them. Take the benefit of joining in October, learn what you need to learn, put some of it into practice, and then maybe join again to refresh it in January and then really go into your retail escape next year. So you can join either cohort. Because this is a very time-intensive coaching program for me, I only work with 20 people at one time. So there is only 20 spaces available. So this early bird offer, I don't expect it to be around very long, but you have until midnight to take advantage to it on Sunday. And once those spaces are filled, I'll be closing the doors to the Retail Escape Accelerator because my time, I don't have time to do 20 CVs, 20 resumes, and provide all that one-to-one support if I took on hundreds of people. So 20 people get my devoted time over the next 6 months or so to successfully escape retail. So let me know in the comments who's going, whether or not you want to invest with me going forwards, or whether or not you are going to put into practice what you've learned in the masterclass this evening. Who's going to become a retail escapee? Who's going to be telling me this was I've escaped retail before Christmas, or I am going to get out. This is going to be my last Christmas in retail. Who is going to be a retail escapee this year? Let me know in the comments. And ultimately, you guys have 3 choices right now. You can spend another year in retail and do what I've always done, where multiple years I was like, I'm going to do something about it before Christmas. This is going to be the last year that I work in retail. And I found myself in the same place. And it's what happens every January. I get bombarded with messages in January. People feel like it's time to do something different. And unfortunately, those people message me year after year. Are you going to try and do it on your own? Which, again, I've had many successful people over the years do it on their own. Sometimes it can be quite hard work. Like I found out where it took me 6 months of painful trial and error. I did eventually get there. Or who wants to sign up for the Retail Escape Accelerator and help me guide you and make sure that you're on track so you can get the quickest career change, but ultimately the best result for you. So here's an overview of obviously everything you get. Now a chance for a Q&A. So guys, let me know in the comments what questions you have for me this evening. What have you got any specific questions that I haven't headed off tonight that you want me to answer? Thank you everyone for your comments. I'm glad that you guys have enjoyed tonight's topic. So some of the questions I've got coming through in terms of, obviously, I think I did mention this already, in terms of is this applicable to those of you in different places in the world. So 100% I've worked with people across the world, and some of the people that joined my last accelerator were mainly from the US as well. In terms of some of the times of the calls as well, I do them 7:30 on a Tuesday evening, normally a quiet time for retail managers. So pretty much similar kind of time for those of you joining this masterclass, but on a Tuesday. So wherever you are in the world right now, the time we kicked off tonight would be the same time we'd kick off for the accelerator on a Tuesday, just to give you an idea of the times that we do those calls. In terms of the access that you guys, a lot of people ask me in terms of access that you get to me. Obviously, it's a private WhatsApp group where I'll reply to you as soon as possible to support you through that. Yeah, just wait and see if there's any other questions come through. Otherwise, we will wrap up. So I don't think we've got too many. I've been doing this for quite a while now, so I do head off a lot of questions that you guys might have. Anyone got any doubts about escaping retail? Do fire across. So we'll probably wrap up. Might be a bit of delay, but not too many questions this evening. So I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for your time this evening. Do let me know in the comments how you found tonight. Have you found it useful? Have you taken away some bits that are going to help you successfully change careers? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So whether or not you're watching me on YouTube, on LinkedIn, or on my own website, do let me know in the comments how you found it tonight. So that is it. Have a great one, everyone. Hopefully I'll see some of you in the accelerator as well, but do keep me updated, do keep me posted if any of you reach out to me when you've successfully changed careers. So have a good one, everyone, and take care.